Since we now have some kind of understanding how to graph a logarithm, we should probably discuss domain and range. This is a topic that we cannot escape. And the best way to do it is by looking at Desmos. So I'm going to remind you that the graph of a log, y equals log of x, looks like this. And I'd like you to take a guess as to what you think the domain is. You know, this is a question, this is something that we've talked about before. What might the domain be here? Pause the video for a minute and take a guess, please. Okay, I'm hopeful that you guessed that the domain of this guy is that it's that the x values can all be greater than 0. Now, if you guess greater than or equal to 0, you're still pretty good, still pretty close. But it turns out logs cannot be 0, and so unfortunately that just doesn't happen. And just out of curiosity, well, yeah, so I'm going to leave it at that. Well, let's see if I can show. So I can't really prove to you that the log can't be 0, but one thing that I can try with Desmos is I can kind of drag down here and we can see the x values, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller. But at some point, Desmos is just like, I'm giving up. But they can keep getting smaller and smaller. They'll never get to 0. I'd also like it if you could try guessing the range for this function. So what is the range of this guy? See if you could guess. It is not nearly as obvious as what the domain might be. So pause the video for a moment and see if you can guess. Okay, hopefully you're back. And the range for this guy, it turns out, is all real numbers. Now, it is not nearly obvious by looking at this guy, but it turns out what the deal is that this guy over here, there should actually be an arrow going to the right, but also, even though this guy is only creeping upward slowly, it does go upward forever. And this guy is going downward forever. For sure, absolutely positive, this guy is going to have every possible value of y that's negative. But it turns out this continues to go up and up and up as x values get larger and larger. As the x values get closer and closer to 0, y gets larger and larger and larger. And so therefore, the y values, and maybe we shouldn't just say all real numbers. Let's say the range is y is equal to all real numbers. Even that doesn't really say it well. Let's see if we can find a better way to say this. Y could be any real number. I kind of like that better. So that's it, folks. That's all I really have to say about domain and range for logarithms.